All right, welcome to this episode of Optimal You. Today, my guests, I'm super excited to hear what they have to say, the story that they are going to share. Taylor and his lovely wife, Colton.
Taylor is the lovely wife.
His lovely wife, Taylor.
When you pointed at me off the bat, I was like,
I know.
I'm Colton.
All right. Hey, we got Colton.
It's fine. You've only known each other since you were like 6.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, we have known each other for a long time.
Hey, but for those of you watching Optimal You for the first time, this is a podcast vlog that's real. And what we do, what our objective is that Optimal You is designed and meant to empower individuals to live their optimal lives. And so my guests that I invite on have awesome stories of trials and triumphs that they've gone through. And I hope that the messages that they share can help individuals who maybe you're going through a similar thing, or maybe you're going through something not even related, but it will give them the motivation and the courage to act and to change their lives so that they can live their optimal life. Now, Colton, we've had you on the show before. I've introduced you. I'm not going to run through that again.
Yes.
But what I'll have you do is I'll have you introduce your wife.
Awesome. I would love to introduce my wife. So before, just for the record, for everybody watching, Joe has the raddest voice to listen to.
You really do. You have like the perfect announcer voice.
It's like not my regular talking voice, but it's my either when I'm on a phone or when I'm recording
Dude,
voice.
it's so good.
It literally is the
And
most
I've
perfect.
said, I think I
announcer
said that on
voice.
the last time that I was here when we were sharing your story. But I like it a lot.
Thank you.
I'll tell you about Taylor. So let me introduce you all to Taylor. So this is my lovely wife. We've been married about 4.5 years. We met 6 years ago from our buddy Blake. And Blake introduced us while she was in town for her brother's wedding. She at the time was living in Hawaii. She's half Hawaiian, half Texan, which Texas pride, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the wrong
Joe?
kind of Texan Cowboys fan.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, whatever.
I
Houston
feel similar
Texans
too.
Yeah.
I feel really similar. Cowboys.
are the best.
Sweet. Anyways.
Okay, 49ers fan.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead. So continue. Keep introducing your lovely wife.
I'm actually an Oakland Raiders fan. Anyway, so Taylor.
He's been married for 4 years.
He switched last year.
She says I switched.
Wow.
I've never even been to a 49ers game. I've been to 2 Oakland
Well,
Raiders
you liked
games.
the 49ers until what's his face?
I liked both teams.
Anyways.
Regardless of the deal. You see, Taylor's a little bit fiery. This is the Texan in her. And she's also Polynesian. So the two together, you couldn't get
We're
more.
really prideful.
You couldn't get more pride in one human
That's awesome.
of just being proud of who you are. Not being so much of like, screw everyone thing, even though that kind of comes with it too. But there's a lot of good fire.
Sometimes.
So, but the fun thing about Taylor is that Taylor's Miss Compassion. So, in introducing Taylor, Taylor grew up mostly in Texas, lived a bit in Hawaii. She has a bunch of family on the North Shore of Oahu, and her brother now lives on Eva Beach, which is right next to Pearl Harbor.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Pretty
where,
much his backyard.
yeah. So which, yeah, we FaceTimed them yesterday. We felt kind of cool. They survived the hurricane.
Good. I was
Didn't
gonna
even
say that.
have any hurricane where
Yeah,
they were.
it turned into a tropical storm, so it was
Oh,
weird.
good.
Which they
So,
got like
which was
less
awesome.
rainfall than flood seasons and stuff. So they were sweet. So,
It was good.
so Taylor is a hairstylist. She, when we met, she was going to school to be a calculus teacher, high school calculus teacher.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
So she's really smart, which is really funny.
Nerd,
So
yeah.
she does all the books and stuff for Godfrey Entertainment, for Greg and stuff. Takes care
Okay.
of all of his stuff because
Yeah.
she's just really good with things like that.
Seriously.
But
I like numbers.
According to my calculations.
yeah, according to what I know. So, but after like a year, not even a year, we hadn't even been married a year. It was like maybe 8 months, and she's like, "I'm gonna go to school for hair." I was like, that seems pretty contradictory to what you've been doing. You're like almost done and gonna be a teacher. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't think I want to be a high school teacher." I'm like, "I don't want you to either. You're a tiny human. It would be more fun if you went and did this." Because at the time I was traveling around a lot for work and stuff, and I mean, still do a bit, but most of the time I was gone and I wanted her to be able to come with me. So I was super supportive. She ended up going through, is a really great hairstylist. So if you need your hair, dude, get your girl. And she's a big time artist and stuff. So it fits in with like her ethos of life.
Okay.
But Taylor and I grew up from completely different backgrounds with parents, families, our brothers and sisters. Well, my sister, her brothers and my brothers couldn't be more opposite. And I don't think our parents could be more opposite. So even down to our zodiac signs, we're not even supposed to be together. And
But
well,
we
that's what
are,
it says.
so
She's been obsessed with this, like,
screw you, astrology.
yeah.
Just kidding. I
She's
really
been
like it.
reading a book called Screw You Astrology. And
Oh,
No,
wow.
okay, it's not really called Screw You Astrology, but
it's called The Only Astrology Book You Will Ever Need.
so she's been loving
I
it.
One and
literally
done.
bought it because of that title. I was
One and
like,
done.
hmm.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
need any other
I'm not
ones.
gonna need
Yeah,
anything
Might as well
else.
get this
Learn
one.
everything right here.
It's a great marketing
Right?
technique right there.
So yeah, but
The
even,
only podcast and vlog you will ever need. I'm
Yeah,
going to put that
Yeah.
out.
the only way that you can be optimal you is by watching Optimal You.
it's the only one.
The only way.
And you can put it all in this passport
Done.
and go around the country. Anyway, so Taylor is awesome, and not only is she looks like the typical pretty girl, but she's actually really, really smart. And even though our backgrounds have been completely different, I would say, in the triumphant side, what you said at the beginning, I think one thing that we're really open with that not a lot of people are as much is that we pretty much hated each other the first 3 years of marriage, which usually people have like a honeymoon phase that they go through.
We never did.
We didn't get to that point because our families were fighting like the night before we even got married. It was, we didn't communicate very well with marriage stuff, getting up to it, because we didn't really want to do a wedding. We were kind of just doing it for our parents. They both wanted to
Oh, really?
celebrate.
Yeah.
And I just
I just wanted to get married and then peace out. Bye.
yeah.
Do your thing.
So yeah, so it started off really rough where like she's back in her family, I'm back in mine, and we dug our heels in hard.
Yeah.
But all in all, especially over the last year and a half, I can honestly say the last year and a half of my life, whether I've done different things over the last year and a half than I thought I ever would, and it's by far been the happiest year and a half of my entire life. So it's been really cool.
Last time you were on, you were telling me about patterns, and you were telling me about this program that you've been a part of, which ironically, this podcast is Optimal You. This program you've been a part of is called Be You.
Yeah.
Now, Be You not only has helped you with challenges or growing up the way that you guys did individually, but it's also helped strengthen your marriage, right?
Oh yeah.
Tell me more about this program, Patterns, how you got introduced to it, what you've done with it, and how it has helped your life and your marriage. Those are three questions. Can you remember that? You tell
Yeah.
I ask
got it.
questions
Yeah.
for a living.
1, 2, and
I
3.
love it.
Yeah.
I love
I'm
it.
just gonna outline them for you.
Yeah.
Here's 1, 2, 3, and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna
just
answer
fill
those.
this out real quick. Here's your application.
Exactly.
Any
Yeah,
snide
you don't
remarks
have
or
to go in
comments
that
at the end.
order, but I'm interested in hearing about this. Be You Patterns. And,
So yeah. So just as a backstory, most people just would look at me, period, as somebody that's just kind of a big screw off that just wants to play, which is pretty true. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know about me is that I have a huge connection with people, period.
I thought you were gonna say something else.
And I have this, like, ever since I was a little kid, even Tyler Cahoon and I would be like 5 years old and we'd play Cowboys and Indians. And I just looked as Indians were the bad guys and Cowboys were the good guys. And we'd play cops and robbers. And I was always the cop. I was always the cowboy. I was always the good guy because I refused to be the villain because I wanted to be the hero.
Even to our like Halloween costumes, I'm like, oh, you should be the Joker, and I'll be what's her face, Harley Quinn. He's like, I can't be the Joker. He's the bad guy.
I don't want to be the bad
He
guy.
never
Yeah.
wants to be the bad guy.
So I've had this obsession with being like a superhero since I was a little kid. And part of it is because I could feel how people feel in a way. People have a frequency that they operate at, and you can feel people's frequencies if you dial in. It's just a weird thing. Sounds really goofy, but you can feel people's energies.
Yes.
Is pretty much what it is.
Very true.
So if you're around somebody that's in a really, really bummer mood, not only do they physically look it, you can always feel it as well.
Yeah.
And all people have that ability to empathize and to be an empath. It's an innate thing for humans, period.
Mhm.
And it's something for me that I've been really tuned into. And I went through a similar training as the BU training, the one that we're talking about in just a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
I went through one when I was a teenager, and it was a game changer for me at the time because I was a compulsive liar after I switched schools and came over into this side of Sandy and whatever. And I didn't fit in. So I lied my eyeballs out and I turned into kind of a bully, and I was kind of just a douche, just being honest. And then after going through that program, I became a friend is really what it was, is I learned how to be everyone's friend and see everyone equally, which was really, really cool.
How old were you when you did this?
12 or 13.
Okay.
And then I helped out with it for a while too.
Yeah,
It was
that's
called
awesome.
Rising Star, and it was cool. It was really, really cool. I didn't like the culture of it so much. We had a bummer falling out, unfortunately, but the idea behind it and what it did was give you somewhat of a restart as a teenager. Teach you how to play and show up in life. It was really, really cool. So then when Taylor and I got married and we were struggling for those first 3 years, I had wanted to find something like that. I wanted to go to something like that. And there was like Impact here in Utah, which do great work, but they've had some poor things said about them a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and you
Yeah.
can tell a lot about like a person's name, like Impact. They're like, we're going to make an impact on you, versus like BU is like, you just get to be yourself. Sort of like Optimal You, like you get to be your best self.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, similar
It's
to
just like a different
I'm glad I
feel.
have a good name.
you have a
you have a
great
great
name.
name.
I'm
It's
glad I
perfect.
chose a
I
good
love
name.
it.
Yeah, you can tell a lot about a company by their name,
Yeah.
just like Tay's saying, and
Uh-huh.
and it's really true with certain companies, and even with Rising Star, it was like they were going to make sure you were a rising star, and so some of the culture and that kind of played to it, and that's not the way I like to do life. I'm very just like I want people to show up how they want to show up. So
Yeah.
what happened is last year sometime we had one of our best friends said, I wanted his help. He's a marketing genius. I mean, does millions of dollars a month online. He's just really, really good at marketing online. So I wanted his help to market for a business idea that I'd had. And he said, yeah, I can't trust you. I'm like,
Wow.
what do you mean you can't trust me? And he's like, I can't trust you. And something along the lines of that. It was like, I can't trust
Yeah.
you to, your word is,
I can't trust you to show up, really.
yeah.
It's like you'll tell me one thing, and sometimes like you might do it, but you also might not. So there's that like, I just don't trust
Some
you.
risk here.
Mhm.
And so he said, yeah, if you go to this training, then I'll have you do it. So I'm like, all right, sweet. So at first I'm like, okay, so it's a business training. I'm totally down to go. So we signed up for it, and I was like, Tay, do you want to go to this? And I had said stuff about things like this before because we were struggling so bad in our marriage. But again, last March, we went to the same spot that we had our first fight, which was the night before our wedding was our first big fight we ever had. We'd never gotten loud with each other, anything. We'd had little arguments here and there, but we were really good at just being like, oh, it's cool. I love you. Let's figure it out. And it's not like we brushed it under the rug. We would just handle stuff until that night. And then it was just like we put up walls. And so for 3 years, we didn't really deal with it. So from March, we went to the same place that we'd had our first fight and decided we're either going to make it work or we're going to get a divorce. Like, we're deciding right now. So what do you want to do? Like, we actually make a big change and be committed to it, and we talk it all out right now, or we just say peace out. And so it was actually up at the Draper Temple. That was the first place we had our fight.
Wow,
That's where
really?
we were
Yeah.
getting married the next day. And so we went up into that parking lot, and we were there for 4.5 hours, talked everything out. And we're like, cool. So I guess we should just move forward. And so things were getting really good. But I had said several times, like, hey, we should find a training like that or whatever.
He was like, we should go to Tony Robbins. And I literally looked at him and I said, I'm not open to it. Nope, I don't want to go. Like, I won't get anything out of it. So no. And it was his parents were buying it for us. So it wasn't even like it was coming out of our pocket. And now looking back, I'm like, that would have been so cool. But
I'll go.
I
with you to
honestly
Tony
wasn't
Robbins.
open
And I
for-
love
right?
Tony Robbins.
I should have just
So-
like passed off the ticket to
Which
someone.
been to
like,
some
who
Tony
wants to
Robbins
go.
stuff. He's
Yeah.
the man. He's the man. And the best at changing your state on the planet. He's incredible at it. And that's usually what his whole programs are about. Not so much about what these programs do, even though it does some of it.
Yeah.
the majority of what Tony Robbins does is focus on your state. That's what he does. Is he's like, you can't really handle or control the past.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just focus here right now. Change your state.
I watched his Netflix special, and I saw that in action.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, the
Yeah.
I'm not your guru
He
or
brings
whatever.
back the layers and uncovers the
Yep.
real issue that's that's underlying for what they perceive
Right.
as their being their problem.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So, and I'd listened to so many Tony Robbins things and whatever, and I'm obsessed with. I mean, I went to school I changed every single semester, but I went for psychology, then behavioral science, then communications, and I never could stick to something because I couldn't find what it was I was looking for. And then after my buddy was like, I can't trust you, you got to go to this training if you want to work with me.
Yeah.
I showed up to it and we went, and after the
Did Tay
first
go with
day,
you? So you guys.
so
you said
Tay
you weren't
decided
open
she was
to
going
it.
to
Yeah.
come. So I asked her, I'm like, you want to come with me? And she's like, yeah, I guess I'll go. And
Yeah,
I was like,
sure, I'll go.
whoa,
What?
really?
What?
Which is, I don't know.
What changed your mind?
I literally don't know.
Yeah. You just decided give it a go.
I said yes, and then I was like, okay, well, we're going. I don't know if it was because I really trusted the guy and his wife who introduced it to us. I honestly don't know what it was. I just agreed, and
Yeah.
then we went,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
it was
So yeah, we showed
Yeah.
up and it totally transformed our life. So the fact that Taylor's talking on the mic like this right now, just for the record, is absolutely insane, because last year, had we been in this situation, she wouldn't have talked. It was always me that was just talking, always.
Mm-hmm.
And when we would go to situations, she would just kind of hide out and stick on her phone. And with
I like
my
being
family,
the wallflower and the observer, just sit and listen to everybody, learn
Yeah.
all the secrets.
which isn't necessarily bad. It's not, and it's not
No,
bad.
yeah.
Period. Not necessarily. It's just not bad at all.
Yeah.
It's just.
I use
was
it as a
just
way to
part of
hide.
her- yeah, it's
That's
part
what
of her
was
escape
what
route.
the problem
Okay,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, which was fun. You go through this training, you get to see the way that you're showing up and the blind spots you have in your life. And so, right the first day when we got there, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really similar to Rising Star. So then for me, because we'd had a bummer situation, I was just waiting to cut it down. Like, I can't wait to find all the faults in this, like I did in the other one.
Yeah.
Because I don't like cultural things that are like, you have to be culturally appropriate and do this and stand up and own your voice and be strong and it has to look a certain way. And I'm like, no, dude, I do not like that at all. I'm totally down for obeying the laws of the land, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, when you're in a free zone, when you have freedom to be you, is everything to me. And so when it was just like that while we were in there and there wasn't any of the bull, it was really all about freeing you up so that you could be you. I was like, oh, dude, this place is rad.
Wow. Yeah.
And Taylor came out absolutely changed. So Ethan Roberts just went through it.
Okay.
And Ethan, I asked him, I'm like, so why do you want to go? And he goes, dude, honestly, the reason I want to go more than anything is because of the person Taylor became out of it. That's
Wow.
why I trust it more than anything.
Yeah.
Because she had such a unique, really cool transformation. It was really, really cool.
So what do you do in this? So you go in there. It's something that's helping you be you. What do they walk you through?
Yeah. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what
Yeah,
happens,
you
in
know,
it,
okay,
but
so-
I'm gonna
So
I'll
give me
give you an
the
example
gist of
yeah.
what they do. I don't want to take it away from BU
No,
because it
no.
sounds like an awesome program, and anybody who's interested will put up some information of how
Yeah.
they can get to it and learn more, and maybe even participate.
And honestly,
in
if
themselves,
we
but-
explained what you did, it would be like, wait, how?
could you even get to
How
where
does
you
that
get there?
make sense?
Yeah,
like
it
that
doesn't make
doesn't. It makes
sense.
absolutely no sense.
yeah,
And it's because it puts you in a state where you can handle your subconscious versus like
yeah,
what you put up. You actually get to like be who you are subconsciously on the inside.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest. It's so cool.
So people growing up, even as little kids, we're taught certain things that are okay and things that aren't okay.
uh-huh.
And so while growing up with those things, once you learn those things from your parents or from your peers or from whoever, even as a little tiny kid, we make decisions and we create beliefs off of experiences that we have that then become habits. They become patterns, and it leads us through to life today. So the stuff that you're doing, and even what we recognized, is that the reason that we fought wasn't even so much the other person's issue, which for anybody out there that's a couple, you bring in things into a relationship that you already are ready to shoot at the other person for things they didn't even do or that they're not doing, because we have so many beliefs about things that we don't end up actually taking action on things that would suit for us, but we react to things because we have a belief or assume that the worst is going to happen a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's not for everyone. I'm not saying that. But we have patterns that are created that no matter if it's a good or a bad pattern, we all have patterns, and they're created from being a young kid. So
yeah, and it can even be like even anything like as small as like mom gave brother more mac and cheese one time when you're like 4 years old, and you're like, what the heck, Mom? Why did you give him more mac and cheese? You must love him more. And that's the decision you make, and that's your belief.
Yeah.
And then everything from then on, it proves your belief, because then all of a sudden, like, you get in a fight and you push your brother down, and she goes to save brother and take care of brother, and you're like, see, I knew it, Mom. You love him more than you, or more than me.
Yeah.
And then it goes into your life, and it becomes a pattern that your mom loves your brother more than you, and then it then goes to women figures in your life, and then you start to do. It's just a little, even something as small as that, and it can be bigger things. Like,
well, and even
it's crazy.
So this is why, and just for the record, because of that stuff and seeing that once I figured out my patterns and Tay figured out her patterns and whatever, and we saw where we were at, it was a total game changer, because we were like, whoa. And so all in all, in the training, you get to do some processes, you get to do some games to see how you show up, to see the walls you've put up, to see what you're doing and what you're missing out on. And it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So because you get to do that, you see where you're at in life. And a lot of the time, it's really interesting. I similar to you, Joe. I put up stuff all the time. I just like to put out good feels to
Yours
people.
Yours gets more likes than
it's
mine
not
do.
True,
so
Joe. It's not true.
He has like a random
brothers
big following on
me.
Instagram, like all this stuff. I'm like, how do so many people?
So anyways,
because he's inspiring. He's
No.
cool. You're a good guy.
But I put something up. I don't even remember what we were just talking about. Now
you put something up on Facebook.
Yeah,
you're following.
Talking
you're
about
famous.
today. No, that's not what I was talking about. That's not what I was talking about.
You're talking about patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember what it was.
You put something up on social media.
Yeah, I put something up on social media.
Me.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to say like you, because you'd said something similar in a way. And yeah, that's why I was saying
As to what you put up?
Yeah, that was the
when
whole
was
point
this?
of it. It was about 9 months ago.
Oh, yeah, my memory can't remember that.
Wait, you put something up 8 months ago or 9 months ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about what you put up today.
No, but I liked the things
post,
from today.
Gotcha.
Huh.
Yeah.
It may come back to you.
Yeah, we'll go back to it. If not, a stupor thought means it wasn't very good, not important. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
Didn't ruin that for you. Anyways, the whole point of this training is to help you see certain things, right? You see all your blind spots here showing up, everything that I said. And on top of that, you see how you can actually show up, and you learn who you are. You learn really who you are, not what they're telling you to be. You decide it through the whole thing. It's really, really cool. And it's not, in a weird way, it's exactly what you want out of it. Like, for example, for people that are wondering if it's a religious thing, it was funny when we went in there, it's in Utah. So the people that are in there, I had one person come up to me after I'd gone through it. You can go back and you can help out at it and stuff. And then I ended up becoming really involved because I recognized that this is exactly where I wanted to be. It's exactly the stuff that I could help people with. Mm-hmm. Totally my MO. And so I was like, oh man, I got to figure this out. Because I was already doing teen mentoring. I've been doing it for years. Yeah. And I like to help. Yeah. And a lot of it was about changing their state and helping them to see that they're worth. Yeah. Helping them see their worth. But I was missing a huge chunk of clearing up the past side of it, which is really where the patterns are going to keep playing out, because you only know your future by your past. And so that's just the truth of it, right? Yeah. Your future repeats what the past is unless you interrupt it.
Yeah.
but you have to see what you're actually interrupting. And I didn't ever put that piece to the puzzle. So I kept on interrupting it, and then you go back and interrupt it, and then you go back and interrupt it. And it's like, okay, why the frick do I have to keep on interrupting this? So I was teaching kids how to do that. But the issue was, and then most of the time I was working with parents on top of that. So then it was like, I don't really know how to actually stop that from happening. And then I figured it out through this. It was really cool. And so anyways, Tay and I became obsessed with it. And the whole point of the religious thing that I was saying before is that somebody came up to me and they go, so it was on one of the breaks that you have there. They go, so I'm loving this. It's not religious at all. And I love that. And I love that it's like totally, there's no Mormons in here and I just don't feel judged and it's great. And I was like, cool, sweet. And somebody else comes up to me and they go, so I love that this is totally like religious and God-centered. And I love that like there's just the majority of people here are Mormons. And I'm like, that's so funny that both of you would have the exact opposite thought because it's so open and transparent that you're getting everything that you want out of it. It's really, really cool. So the truths that are taught are just universal truths that everybody can benefit from. So it's really, really cool. So if you want to believe in something or not, that's not what this is about. It's just about
it's like God or universe or higher power or
nada or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It
what
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool. Yeah. So anyways, funny thought on that. But so after that had happened and they kind of told me that they're sweet on the fact that it's, not religious or is religious or whatever.
Yeah.
I became even more obsessed with it because I'm like, hey, this is so consistent for everyone. It works for everyone. And then I started traveling with them. We went out to Indiana, went to Milwaukee. We've kind of gone all over the place doing these things. We did it in inner city Milwaukee as well.
Okay. So you started by going to it, and now you're involved with it.
Yeah.
You're helping out. You're putting these trainings on?
Yeah. Now I actually get to help do them and be the facilitator. So facilitator, trainer, whatever you want to call it. It's the best way to put it is facilitator because you're not training people to be them type thing. You're facilitating the movement because this thing was created back in the 40s. In the late 40s after the World Wars to humanize people again after the World Wars because they're dehumanized to go out there and kill somebody. And so
all the stuff that they go through there. And
right.
I can only imagine. That's an interesting little side note. So I listen to a lot of motivational stuff. I listen to Tony Robbins, Les Brown, and I've even ventured further back, Jim Rohn, and even Earl Nightingale. And the funny thing that I find is a lot of the messages are recycled.
Yeah.
There's not really like new groundbreaking information when it comes to motivational messages. Right. A lot of the stuff that our boy Tony shares, Jim Rohn shared a long time ago. That was his mentor.
Right.
And he pulled a lot of the information from Jim, but now we're just getting it in new light. And then, you can trace it back. And even if you go deep, like philosophical or if you're going back to like religious texts, like all of the stuff's in there. So it's interesting that you're saying this program was used back in the 40s, but we've almost just reinvented it. Not maybe reinvented it,
it's just
but
refined
it.
Yeah. It's almost like not recreating the wheel or reinventing it, but it's just redefining it in a way.
Yeah.
You can call it whatever you want. It's just the same principle.
Yeah, it's just evolved into being more like for everyone versus like in the 40s it was specifically for soldiers that came back so they could re-enter society. And then it was like, oh, this could work. If it could work for them, we could change it a little bit and make it work for everyone. And now we're here 2018 and it still works. So
so
pretty wild.
So you're saying that these events that happen in our life, we create beliefs off of them. And one of the things that Tony says is that you tell yourself a story. And the number one thing that he says and that I really like is the number one way you're going to change your life is you got to change the bullshit stories you keep telling yourself. Yep. And he goes back to that a lot. Now, you've gone through this program. You've done it yourself, Taylor. You've been a part of it. Now you're instructing and you're leading. But you mentioned that it's changed you. So share with me and us. Let's go to the family, right? and why you guys immediately were pulling guns out at each other after this first huge argument that you had. What was the story that you guys were telling yourselves, and how did you guys overcome that with this program?
Oh, my story is that I'm unworthy and nobody hears me and I'm not smart enough to be heard. So why even try? That was my story. So I would try and I would say something.
That's to the bare minimum of it,
Wow.
right? And
Yeah.
there's a story on top.
There's
of
like,
that.
I mean, there's like if you want to go into the whole story, I can tell you every moment. Like I will
how
go
she got
in,
screwed over
yeah,
and how
but
people hate her, and
Yeah.
to the point, that's what my story was. And so we would get in an argument and I'd be like, well, this is what I think. And Colton is such a problem solver, and I can solve the problem myself. I just need somebody to like listen to me while I talk about the problem.
just for the record, this isn't training thing right here. This is just women, period. Men out there, they just want to be listened to. We had a fight a little bit
I am
ago, or an
taking notes on
argument.
this?
Yeah,
Right,
seriously.
literally just
We
just
had an
listen.
argument. It wasn't even an
Period.
argument. She
Yeah.
she was just like, "Will you just stop and just listen to me?" And I'm like, "Babe, but here's the thing. It's like the nail in the head thing, right?
Yeah.
But there's a nail in your head." And she's like, "I don't want to talk about the nail. I just have I have a headache right now."
It's like I know it's there and I know I need to pull it out. And right now I just want to complain about how much it hurts. So you get to just listen to me complain about how much it hurts. Like that's what it is. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
she just wants to be heard and stuff. But
yeah. So
but
that was
that's part of from her insecurity stuff.
Yeah, that was my story. And so when we would get in arguments or when I would pull out my gun, it's that whole like, well, mom gave him more mac and cheese. So, oh, okay, there you go. There's another way that mom loves them more than me. It was like I was ready for him not to listen to me. It was like this self-fulfilling prophecy that I like ran my story so hard that everything proved it and just fed into it. And then my story
Yeah.
got bigger and bigger. And then it was like, here's another example of how I'm not listened to. And so I would say something or he'd get upset about something or whatever it was. And I would try to explain my side. And Colton would come in to solve the problem. And I'm like, see, you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
boom. So it was
Yeah,
like,
that
there's
was
my,
the most
Problems.
consistent fight.
yeah,
that
there
we
was
ever
my
had.
guns just drawn like, see, you're not listening to me. Screw you. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't worth my time. And then I would run and hide. And I would just close the door and stay by myself. Because that's what I would do when I would run my story. And when my story was proven, I would run and hide. Because it was like, why open up? Why talk? You're going to hurt me anyway. I
Yeah.
might as well stay protected away from everybody because then I don't get hurt. You know?
Yeah.
So
And
that was
that's
my story.
Most people preemptive strike when it's almost like they want to prove their story right because it's been right a bunch of times.
Yeah.
They want to be right, which it was really funny when we were talking about your story. There were so many things that you said, and you're like, "See, I'm going to make a lot of sense." And I'm like, "No, you don't even understand how much sense this makes," because it's not even, and I don't even mean that in a negative connotation at all. It's just I could see because of that. It's like, oh, that makes perfect sense for this, and oh, this happened. No, dude, that makes total sense for this, and
It's like,
Yeah.
no
The
wonder,
the fact that
yeah.
that was the first time you'd ever shared that story, we talked about that of
Yeah.
how that pattern like comes through, and you were like,
Yeah.
oh, that's funny, I never thought of it that way. And it's like, yeah, no, that's what this whole training is exactly
Yeah.
what happened for you, where you're like, oh, that's funny, I never thought of it that way, or whatever it was. You were like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Did you know the biggest thing? I'm going to jump in real fast
Yeah.
with something that I learned from that. So in covering these stories, right? So I've to be honest, I've always struggled with feedback, and especially from superiors. And it went back to when we went into those situations where I was forced into these therapy sessions where I always had to share what was going on. And at times I was different. I didn't want to share. Like I didn't want to talk. And every time that I got put in these situations, I just hated it. So carrying that story forward with me through my work life, it interrupted it, because it's like, great, here's another situation. Things are good. And I've got to be forced to bring up something and to talk about
Right.
things that I don't want to talk about. And it was game changer. And you can even ask like some people at my work, they're like, dude, what's changing you? And it was really that conversation and just realizing like, man, I've been putting up these barriers and these walls for so long because of this event that happened growing up when I was in my youth and a childhood. And now I'm in a situation at work where it's not even similar. And these people are trying to help me, and I am refusing it because growing up, right, I don't want to be different. I don't want to be told
Right.
anything's wrong. And it was just amazing. So now like my whole paradigm on feedback has changed, where it's like, that is not even a similar situation. I want to grow. And if I'm in a sporting event, right, and a coach is telling me how I can improve, I'm going to listen to that coach. And it's like, this is exactly the same setting. So it's like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to grow. So that was something that was amazing. Like you guys that are talking about. And I think it came to pass from you going through this program and saying, oh, all of these things make sense. Like in a different light, like it clicked for me of this one instance. I'm sure that there are going to be and will be others, but yeah, amazing.
Brett, he's my mentor through this, right? The training gets passed down to the next trainer or facilitator type thing. And so got picked as the next guy in line type deal. And so him and the part 2 facilitator, Jocelyn, they are the ones who've been giving me all this feedback and teaching me these things. And they're like, look, you see it, you see these things. You just got to recognize it now, because it's not, whatever the reason behind it is, I just haven't paid attention to them. And so, interesting that you say that, because I don't know that I ever would have even cared to notice what it was. I just cared that it was whatever, like I just, if there was an issue, it was like, I care, but I could never see why I cared type thing, versus now it's like, oh, I care because it's something that can change. And even now, the fun thing for me, even seeing this with you, is it's not, this is what I'd put up. This is actually the same thing I was going to say before, is that a lot of people are worried about self-improvement, and they look at things that are a self-improvement program, or that you are involved in something that is going to change you, that means that you're messed up or that you're screwed.
Facebook post? No.
I just put it on my story a little bit ago.
Okay.
And maybe it was like a month ago.
Yeah.
But I just went on a rant because I'd had a bunch of people that it was in response to this training that were like, so you just deal with messed up people. And I'm like, no, dude, this isn't for messed up people, though you're excited for messed up people to go through there that are really struggling. That's not even what it's about. And the whole point of desiring to be better, I said a Tiger Woods quote when I was talking that day, champions don't arrive, they just keep winning. Mm-hmm. And that's like the cool thing about Tiger Woods is now he's doing good again. May not be the champ, may not be a champ again, but he's doing really good. And he's going to keep winning, and he'll keep doing really good. And he was the champ for a long time. He was just crushing it. Nobody could even get close to him. So what's really cool about that saying is that it's not so much about just crossing the finish line in life and being like, oh, I made it. I'm a 10. I'm a 10, or I'm at a 10. The real thing that happens is that you cross the finish line, or what you think is the finish line, and then really it starts back over. And now you have a whole new 10 to get to. Yeah. And so the funny thing about people talking about how like, well, you got to be messed up and stuff, it's like, no, that's not. You're totally missing it, and you're missing out. Yeah. It's more about the fact that you can just have so much more. You can have so much more. So with this, it's really, really fun for me to look at it and be like, dude, I love you guys. I want you to get it and stuff. And it's not so much that they need it. It's that people deserve it. Yeah. They deserve to let go of patterns. They deserve to let go of stuff, period, that's holding them back, that they don't even know about. It's just blind spots.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's really like a recipe for growth is what you're describing.
It's exactly
it. And it's not just for people who have been through things or telling themselves stories because of events that have happened in their life. Right. It can just be it's for everybody, and everybody to break those barriers to help them move through and move forward. So Taylor was telling her story. Yeah. So Taylor was saying that the way, and part of the reason you guys were fighting because, or had struggles, is she needed to be listened. She needed to be validated. She wanted to be heard out. Now, you just mentioned something, Colton, that you are the person who cares about problems. You just care. So is that your story, right? You're like, there's something wrong here. I need to fix it. Or what's your story?
So that's a great question. So yeah, big time. Everybody else gets it before me type thing is I'm there to fix the problem unless it's my problem. I don't really care to fix my problem, but I'll fix everybody else's, which is a complete broken equation. Huh. Yeah. Which is an interesting thought because
I mean, it's selfless for one.
it's selfless. And a lot of people look at that as like, man, I'll take a bullet for you. And it's like, cool. Then you can't help anybody.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. If somebody were to jump in right now, for sure, I'm going to take a bullet over Taylor, for sure.
Yeah.
The thing with that, though, is that I want to live. So I'm going to take a bullet in my arm. I'm not going to take it in my heart. I'm not going to die. I'm choosing to live in this situation.
Shoot me right here if you would.
Right? You're like, I'll
but,
block it.
but a lot of people, they look at I would die. I'll die for anybody. And that's where my whole solace was that like I would die for anybody, and because of that I'm a great friend. But that's really all that it stopped at. I didn't actually try to help people solve all of the problem because I couldn't actually help people because I was a broken equation myself. I had stuff that I wasn't whole.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and it really reminds me of a very common analogy of the airplane going down and you're in crisis mode there, right? What's the first thing you're instructed to do? Put your own oxygen mask on. Because if you were to help other people, you may not make it to that point. If
Yeah, it's like you can't help anybody if you're dead.
Exactly.
If you stop breathing.
It's exactly
so
what it is.
similarly, right?
It's
good. It's something that is thought of to be right. You're going to help somebody else, but most important, if you're not taking care of yourself, you may be dead.
Right.
You may die, and you not may be able to help anybody else.
Well, and that's the thing that was the broken part for me is that I looked at probably one of the most overlooked quotes of all time and misunderstood quotes is by what I would call the greatest teacher of all time. Really good dude, about 2,000 years ago. Had some really good teachings.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wait, is this a book? Misunderstood Quotes? That sounds like a great book title.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. Yeah, it's all about misunderstood scriptures. It could be. But that's like every other church in the world. They're like, no, this is how it is. But this is true. Most people, he gave 2 great commandments. Love God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength. And the other one was like unto it. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Or like unto thyself. The problem is that everybody looks at it that it's just love thy neighbor. And most people don't even interpret the fact that that's actually a self-love quote. They miss it completely. And I did my whole life. I just thought it was all about love God, love everyone else. But it actually says love others like unto thyself. And you miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever
can't.
thought of that?
Well, I was going to say, tell me more about this.
Yeah. Yeah, because have you ever thought, like, because most people, they just think it's about loving everyone. But you can't.
You can't love people if you don't love yourself.
Yeah, in the wording of it, actually, in the quote of it or the scripture, it says, like unto thyself. So it's prerequisite with yourself first. And you can't love everyone else unless you love you. And that's the whole point of BU training is to learn how to love you. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
And that's where my equation was broken is that I was trying to take care of everybody else, but I didn't actually like me completely. And I wasn't okay with certain things that were with me. I mean, as saying this is totally not appropriate in today's world, but I used to call myself retarded all the time. And I still do sometimes. It's such a horrible habit that I've had. When I do something that's dumb.
I might have been guilty of that.
Yeah, I call myself retarded. So retarded. So dumb. And I had a 4th grade teacher that every day would call me dumb and stupid. Every single day. Mr. Henning, if you're out there, shout out my boy. So, but he
got you on blast.
Yeah, got you on blast.
Called out right now.
No, but the truth of it is that he probably had a lot of
license.
similar things. Because what's funny about that is I can see Mr. Henning's deal is that he didn't have approval from mom is all it is. Because he's a perfectionist. And it's mom and dad stuff together that he's got. That's the funny thing. That's the cool thing about going through this is that now that all the people that I've been hurt by in my life and stuff, I can see the bigger picture of it and like kind of hover above all of it and see it's not even me. It's not even, I just took on that stuff because then I just would start to believe it.
Yeah.
And once we believe it, then we start to just assume even before we even take action and change things, it's the changing your stars or changing your state. We go back to the assumption of, no, I am dumb. I am stupid. I am whatever. And I did that all through high school. I even did it out of high school. I've done it up until really the past year or so. That's it. Where I've decided I'm actually pretty damn smart.
Yeah.
I'm actually really powerful. I'm inspiring because I go first in life. I'm willing to go out on a limb and go first. And I'm creative still. I'm a creative person, and that's my smart side of me. And I like that part of me. And I used to hate it. And the number one thing that I hated more than anything about myself was that I could feel people's energies, and I hated it. I was so connected and had all this compassion toward people that I felt like that made me weak. And because it made me feel like love for them, sincere love for people. Then I avoided it so bad because even with like dating girls and friends and whatever, I knew how people felt about me and I hated it. So going through this with BU helped me to recognize like, hey, I love that side of me. I love being able to connect with people. That's the part that I wanted. This is my savior side of me that I am so obsessed with, of being a superhero. That's my power, is to be able to connect with people. And I've avoided it my whole entire life. And that's the one thing I want, is to be connected with people. So it's interesting how that took me damn near 30 years to get it. But it was actually 29. It was 29
How long did it
years.
take Colonel Sanders to figure out the recipe for that delicious chicken? It was like
KFC.
60 years.
Yeah.
50, 60 years. Sometimes it takes time. That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And that's a good story for people to know, is that, you know, I mean, even if you look at, what's his bucket, the dude that owns the Mavs, help me out.
Oh, Mark
Mark
Cuban.
Cuban.
Mark Cuban didn't even have a successful business or $1 million or whatever until he was over 30 years old or whatever.
You know what? That's funny you say Mark, right? You think about any successful guru who's huge,
Right.
who's big. That's been the case with many of them. It's not an overnight
yeah.
thing that happens. And those are people who have been through struggles, who have been through hard times. It hasn't been an easy road for them. And they've been able to overcome, work through those things, never give up. To get to that point where they're at. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like,
Mark Cuban had a complete restart when he was 30. And I'm like, wow, dude, I still got a chance. But
reinvent.
Yeah, but that was the coolest part about all of it, is recognizing who you are. And for Taylor, I'm not going to speak for Taylor, but I'll let her tell you who she is, I guess, is the better part.
I was just going to go back to, like, that was such a big part of our arguments, is that my unworthiness was like hitting his, I need to save you. And so it was just,
and you're like, I don't need to be saved.
And I'm like, no, I
to...
this is what I need. And he was like, yeah, but here's the problem. And I can save you. And I'm like, no, you stop. Like, so it was just this constant,
but it was like a save from up here and not from save here either too. Even
and
though
so
I cared.
That's where like his guns were drawn. It was like, yeah, but no, I can fix you. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't need to be fixed. So let's go. Like, so that's where, like, it became a really big thing. And once we both like went through this training and we were able to see that, and I was like, oh wow, like I am so like stuck in needing to be heard and needing to be validated and needing it to be the way that I need it, that I'm completely closing off everything. And so that was a big thing for me. And because like I would close off everything, then he would be like, well, no, let me help, like the savior complex. And it would push me even more back. And so letting go of, I mean, and we still do it. Like, you still are going to have those things. I mean, it's for me, natural. 25 years of feeling this way, like it comes up still. And the great thing is that I now know that that's my story. And so when it comes up, I'm like, crap, okay. Well, I'm just going to own this. I'm going to be really dramatic about it. And I'm just going to roll around in this really quick. And then I get to step back and be like, okay, that's just my story. And I'm done.
Yeah.
And, you know, move forward from it. And it's been really cool. And it was perfectly set up that we decided to make a change. And 6 months later, we were in this training that was teaching us really how to do it. It was like we had taken baby steps, and all of a sudden it was like, all right, now you get to jump off the cliff. Like, here we go. And it was super cool. But
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's amazing to hear the success that this program has had in your individual and your combined lives that you guys have together.
Even our
It's
family, like my mom
yeah.
did not want to go through and said, "Don't tell me about it. I'm not interested."
Really?
And then she
Yeah.
went through after we'd gone through the second part of it. She's like, "Okay, I'm in." And I'm like, "Okay, but you don't have to go if you
Drinking
don't
the
want to. I'm
Kool-Aid.
fine with it."
It's been a really healing thing
So then,
for
yeah, she went
a
through.
lot of
Awesome.
people,
Then
Yeah.
my
especially our
brother
family.
and sister-in-law went through it, and
Yeah.
they did not want to go. And they were like, "Yeah, we don't want you to be a part of it. We don't want you around us," because we didn't have a relationship with them at all. And now we're absolute best friends with them.
Yeah.
And that's who we want to hang out with more than anybody.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, now they moved to California.
Yeah, of
those
course, right when-
They
jerks.
move away.
Right when everything goes good,
fix
they just
things
have to
up.
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now my dad just went through, which is super cool.
Wow.
And my dad, I mean, he speaks for a living. He flies all over the world. He just got back from Australia and Asia and stuff. I mean, he speaks. That's what he does. And it's
Wow.
not about the fact that you're messed up or anything, but he had these massive breakthroughs where, you know, he had several different dads, and his one dad didn't completely show up. And because of that, certain things, little tiny things, have created big impacts. And even for somebody that's an absolute all-star, it's these little shifts that take place that you get to go back and change the energy you have about it. And then all of a sudden it's like not even an issue. It's like your Back to the Future moment that you get to punch
Yeah.
Biff Tannen in the face or stand up to Biff Tannen and say, "Hey, that doesn't work for me, dude."
Yeah.
And everything's different after that. So yeah.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. There's a lot of personal, a lot of intimate stuff there that you guys clearly have worked on it, or I don't believe that you would have been able to share so freely about that stuff. And
Tay
it's
sure wouldn't have
amazing.
been able to.
Nope.
Yeah. And
There's
it's
no way I
amazing.
would've.
We'll definitely get some information up so that anybody who is listening can connect with this program,
Sure.
connect with you, Colton, find out more about it and how to go through it. What I'd like is I want invite you, Taylor, to give me a wrap up. Now, I'm saying this because I know Colton could probably talk on this.
I know, I'm
but
really sorry.
Based
here's
on results.
but
I'm just
here's what I want, Taylor, or what I would like
Yes.
for you to do. Having gone through this program, having identified that there are these patterns in our lives and these thought processes that we've had, these stories that we've been telling ourselves ever since a young age. If somebody's in that situation, say that you were a month ago, what is the best way for them to begin to take action to make those changes necessary to break those patterns? What advice would you give that person?
Oh, wow.
I'm good with questions.
Yeah, that's
Joe does
like a
question.
deep one, man. Honestly, for me, the biggest thing for me was recognizing that I had a choice. And so just being aware that I have that choice. So I was diagnosed with, I have major depressive disorder. And along with that comes anxiety. And so that was a part of my story. I was like, yeah, well, I'm just sad. Like, I can't do this. I don't have a choice. Like, this is just what I have to deal with. And it's not fair. And life isn't fair. And for me, realizing that I could choose. And yeah, there's scientifically, if you really go into it, like, there's things I can't change. And I can change my state, or I can change where I'm at. And at any point in time, you always have a choice. That was the very first gift that we were ever given, is the ability to choose. And honestly, that would be the biggest thing for me, because it's when you're in such, where I was before I went to training. Just a quick backstory. I mean, I said I had the whole unworthy complex going on, and it came a lot from the men in my life. Just from, I had two older brothers, and then it was me, and I was the only girl. So I always felt like I had to be just like them. And my dad was raised in a military family and was taught that emotions aren't okay. And I'm a girl and I'm emotional. And so I would cry, or I'd get emotional or worked up over something, and it wasn't like acceptable. And my dad didn't know how to handle it. And then through high school, got into very unhealthy relationships, to where I was, I can't think of like even like the word, like just like held down, like you don't have a choice. Like I
Almost
control.
hostage.
Yeah, it felt as if like I was stuck. I was just
Yeah.
stuck and I couldn't make a choice. And so realizing that I could have, like being in that space, if I would have known that I had a choice to change anything, and it's easier said than done, actually really knowing in my heart that I have a choice versus like obviously like logically I had a choice.
Yeah.
And in my heart I didn't feel like I did. And that was the biggest thing for me, is that I had a choice and I could choose to stay where I was at, and I could choose to be sad, and I can choose to just be in a crap place. I can choose to feel unworthy. I can choose to run and hide, or I can choose to be a little bit of uncomfortable and stretch myself and own my voice and stand up and say, no, I deserve this and I feel this and it's okay for me to feel this. And that was my biggest aha. And so for anybody that's dealing, especially women in general, dealing with that is just knowing that you have a choice and feeling okay to make a choice would be my biggest, I guess.
That's powerful.
Yeah, word of encouragement, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
it all starts with that choice, and I agree. There's a power behind that. Not only knowing that, sure, I can make a decision here, right? But know that behind that decision that you make, there can be these outcomes that you couldn't even have perceived. That's amazing. Great advice.
Tay's pretty cool. I told you.
she
You're
is
biased, but
awesome.
Well,
thanks.
it can call it bias, but she's pretty freaking rad.
Yeah.
She's a committed human to who she is. It's really cool. She's totally unapologetically her, and it's inspiring as hell.
That's awesome.
I am now. It's taken 25 years, but
You've had it in there. You've just had to unleash it.
I just had to accept it and love it. And I do now, so it's good. It's fun.
Colton Taylor, I think I did the names right that time. Thank you guys for being on. Thank you for sharing that story and great advice, Taylor. Awesome. And thank all of you guys out there for watching, for listening. I haven't asked for comments, likes, shares, but we're getting to that point. So if you liked what you've heard,
Subscribe.
subscribe. Yeah, I forget
Right.
all of the things that I need to throw out here. But if you've liked what you've heard and you feel that this message can help somebody else out, leave a comment, share it with somebody, share it with a friend, share it on your social media so that this message can get out and can help others break through to make those choices to change their lives, that they don't have to be stuck, that they don't have to be held down, and that you can just be you and you can live your optimal life. Until next time, everybody, thank you. We will see you later. You can say bye.
Bye, guys.
Oh, bye. Dude, I was really tired through this thing. I feel bad. I was rambling a bunch of times.